Imagine you are standing on the bank of a turbulent river. The water is crashing against the rocks. The wind is tearing your clothes off, and the lights of a strange city are flashing in the distance. You know that your success, your dream, is there, but to get there, you need to cross to the other side. How? Jump? No. Build a bridge? No time. There's only one thing left to do. Walk through the stream, step by step, not looking at the screams of others, not paying attention to the cold and pain. Because victory is not a moment of triumph. It is those hours, days, and years when you gritted your teeth and moved forward while others were distracted. The Stoics knew this truth 2,000 years ago. They called it attention to yourself. Not egoism, not self-admiration, but an iron discipline of the mind that turns a chaotic life into a conscious path. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you see is your phone. Messages, news, other people's lives on social networks. Your mind hasn't woken up yet, but it's already caught up in other people's thoughts. That's how the day goes. By evening, you realize that you haven't done anything important. You've only reacted. To what? To something that has nothing to do with you. Now another scenario. You wake up and lie in silence for a minute. Breathe. Ask yourself, what depends on me today? Don't turn on your phone until you've identified 3 main tasks. You have breakfast thinking about food, not about the video in the background. You go to work, but don't replay yesterday's argument in your head. Instead, plan how to improve your project. This is control. A friend of mine, let's call him Alexei, worked in an office and constantly complained about his boss. He stifles my ideas, he said. But as soon as he gave up social media for a month and started keeping a diary, everything changed. Instead of getting angry at his boss, he began writing down his thoughts and then offering solutions. 6 months later, he was promoted because he stopped wasting energy on things he couldn't control and focused on things he could change. The Stoic said, the outside world is chaos. Storms, illnesses, human stupidity. All of this is beyond our control. But there's a fortress inside us. Its walls are our attention. Its weapon is clarity. Every time you catch yourself worrying about politics, gossip, or the opinion of a former classmate, you open the gates of this fortress. Try an experiment today. Every hour, ask yourself, where's my mind right now? In a meeting where the boss is talking nonsense? In the past, where you are delving into old grievances? Or here, in your hands, in your breath, in the thing you can do better than anyone else? Have you ever noticed how easily we lose ourselves in the hustle and bustle of everyday life? When you ride the subway, everyone around you is glued to their phones. When you stand in line, you immediately grab your gadget. Even when we are having lunch alone, we always turn on a video or podcast. Why? Because being alone with your thoughts has become scary. But it is in this silence that true strength is born. The ancient Stoics practiced morning and evening rituals. Marcus Aurelius, being the emperor of Rome, began every morning by reminding himself, today I will meet envious, rude, ungrateful people, but I will not be surprised or angry, because I understand the nature of their actions. Try to establish a similar practice. Imagine a young athlete preparing for a competition. He could be nervous, worried about his opponents or judges, but instead, he focuses on his movements, honing his technique, controlling his breathing, monitoring his diet. His strength lies in this focus on what depends on him. So it is in life. While we worry about crises, competitors, or injustice, we lose the energy that we could invest in our own development. An acquaintance of mine, Anna, worked in a large company. When the layoffs began, most of her colleagues panicked, discussed rumors, wrote complaints. Anna, on the other hand, came to work every day and did her job as well as she could. When the time came for layoffs, she was the one who was kept and then promoted, because in the chaos, she kept her mind clear. Epictetus, a former slave who became a great philosopher, said, do not demand that events happen the way you want. Want events to happen the way they happen, and you will be happy. This does not mean giving up. It means directing your energy to where we can really change something. Try to live today differently. When you catch yourself worrying about something beyond your control, stop. Take 3 deep breaths. Ask, What can I do right now to improve my situation? And act in this direction. Do not think about the problem. Work on the solution. Have you noticed that the most successful people often look boring? They don't rush from one idea to another. Don't look for magic pills. Don't change course at the first obstacle. Their strength is in consistency. Day after day, they do the same thing. Read, study, train, work, as if they were walking on pre-laid rails. Now look at most people around you. Today, they are inspired by a motivational video and burn with work until night. Tomorrow, they are tired, disappointed, and decide that nothing can be achieved in this country. The day after tomorrow, they find a new, brilliant idea and rush into battle again. By the end of the month, they are burned out. Sound familiar? The Stoics called this the inconstancy of the soul, when a person becomes a toy of his own emotions, external circumstances, and other people's opinions, like a wave that is thrown up and down, but does not decide where to swim. The philosopher Seneca wrote to his student, "If a ship does not know which harbor to sail to, no wind will be favorable for it." Here's a simple example. Two people start learning English. The first is emotional. Today he watches TV series in the original. Tomorrow he hires a tutor. The day after tomorrow he quits because there is no time. The second learns 10 new words every day, without exception, and reads one page of a book. A year later, the first still dreams of speaking someday. The second is already negotiating with foreign clients. The difference is not in talent, not in conditions, but in the fact that the second person protected his attention from chaos. He did not wait for inspiration. He did not look for the perfect moment. He simply made a rule, 10 words, every day, without options. This is how true strength is born. Do you think great athletes want to go to training every day? That writers always like to write? That entrepreneurs wake up with their eyes shining in the thought, "Oh, today we'll go fill out tax returns." No, they just know. If you give into the mood, you'll lose. Your task is not to chase emotions, but to build a system that will work even when you don't feel like doing anything. How? First, define basic actions, the minimum that you do in any state. Not do sports, but 10 push-ups in the morning. Not learn a language, but 5 new words before bed. Second, track your progress. The ancient Romans kept diaries. You can mark days on the calendar with check marks. Third, don't scold yourself for breakdowns. The Stoics did not demand perfection. Their motto, get up, fall again, get up again. Try it today. Choose one small action that will move you towards your goal. And do it regardless of your mood, the weather, and the news in the world. Once a young man came to philosopher Epictetus and complained, "I want to become a great speaker, but I am constantly interrupted and not listened to. How can I get attention?" Epictetus answered, "When you learn to listen to yourself, others will start listening to you. This principle works in everything. Want to be respected? Learn to respect yourself. Want your ideas to be valued? Start valuing your time. Want influence? Stop giving energy to everyone you meet. Take a piece of paper. Write down your 3 main goals for this year. Now answer honestly. How much time per day do you really devote to them? Not approximately, but by the minute. Most people discover the brutal truth. Their real priorities get crumbs. But social networks, empty talk, and aimless surfing the internet take up hours. Why? Because we allow the world to dictate our rhythm. Seneca wrote, "The poor man is not the one who is little, but the one who wants more." In the modern world, it sounds like this. The truly busy man is not the one who has a lot to do, but the one who cannot say no. Practical exercise for today. First, turn off all notifications on your phone, except for really urgent ones. Second, before you get down to business, ask, "Does this bring me closer to my goals?" Third, when you catch yourself scrolling aimlessly, get up and do 10 squats. A little story. 2 friends decided to start a business. The first one constantly went to all sorts of networking events, added the right people on social networks, collected business cards. The second one worked on the product for 3 hours in the morning and studied in the evening. A year later, The first one had a bunch of contacts and zero income. The second one had his first clients. A year later, the first one was looking for a job. The second one was hiring employees. Marcus Aurelius left us with wisdom. If you seek peace, do less, but do the most necessary. That's the whole secret. Not 100 things to do in a rush, but 3 to 4 important ones. But every day, without fail, your move. Right now, choose one thing that you've been putting off, but which is really important. Give it 25 minutes of pure time. No phone, no switching. Just do it. Imagine your mind as a garden. What happens if you stop tending it? The weeds will grow. The flowers will wither. The fruit trees will stop producing. Our consciousness works exactly the same way. Every day, thousands of seeds fall into it. News, conversations, advertising, other people's opinions. Without control, this garden quickly turns into a wild thicket. The ancient Stoics compared the human mind to a fortress. It can be strengthened, or enemies can be allowed to tear down the walls. Who are these enemies? Not people or circumstances, but our own uncontrollable thoughts, fears, and desires. A practical example. You wake up with a clear goal. Today is an important work project. But first, for a minute, you check social networks. You see a post from a former classmate. He bought a new car. The thought immediately pops into your head. And I still have, why can he do it? Maybe I need to too. And now half an hour has passed in useless worries, and the work has not yet begun. Seneca warned. He who is everywhere is nowhere. Modern science confirms multitasking reduces efficiency by 40%. But the problem is deeper. When we constantly switch, we lose not only time, but also ourselves. Exercise Stoic evening. First, turn off all devices 2 hours before bed. Second, take a regular notebook. Third, answer 3 questions. What depended on me today? Where did I act wisely? What can I improve tomorrow? A story from life. 2 students were preparing for exams. The first sat in the library with a laptop, studied 8 hours a day, but was constantly distracted by messages and videos. The second came for 3 hours, but left his phone in his bag. The result? The first barely passed. The second got the highest score. The difference is not in abilities, but in the quality of attention. Epictetus taught. First tell yourself what you want to be, and then do what you must. This is not about rigid discipline. It is about conscious choice, who you decide to be today. Every moment. Your task for today. Choose 1 hour of pure time. No gadgets, just one important task. If you notice that your thoughts are running away, gently bring them back. Like a wandering beam of a flashlight is returned to the road. This is training the mind. Have you ever watched a blacksmith at work? He does not hit the hot metal chaotically. Each blow of his hammer is precise and deliberate. So it is with our lives. Real change comes not from random impulses, but from daily conscious actions. But how to maintain this awareness in a world that constantly tries to distract us? The Stoics developed a simple but powerful tool, division of things. They divided everything in the world into 3 categories. First category, what is completely in our control, our thoughts, decisions, values. Second, what is partially in our control, our actions, but not their results. Third, what is beyond our control, whether opinions of others, economic crises. The problem with most people is that they spend 90% of their energy on the third category, while sages concentrate on the first. A practical example. Imagine that you came to the gym, your zone of control, regularity of training, intensity of exercise, technique, out of your control, equipment in the gym, competition results, the trainer's opinion about your genetics. My friend Alexei started his business during the crisis. Everyone around him kept saying, now is not the time, but he acted according to the Stoic principle. First, what can I control? Product quality, number of contacts with clients. Second, what can I influence? Improving service, training employees. Third, what is beyond my control? The dollar exchange rate, competitors' actions, government regulations. A year later, his company was growing, while competitors were complaining about Bad times. Exercise Stoic filter. When faced with a problem, ask 3 questions. Question 1. What aspects of the situation do I really control? Question 2. What can I influence but do not completely control? Question 3. What is absolutely beyond my control? Then focus all your energy on the first point. Epictetus said, "Do not try to make things happen the way you want them to happen. Wish that they happen the way they happen, and you will be happy." This is not a call for passivity, but advice to distribute your energy wisely. Today's task: pick one current problem. Apply the Stoic filter to it. Write down which aspects are truly within your power. Then act only in this zone, without wasting energy on the rest. You'll be surprised how much energy you'll have. Morning. You wake up, and the first thing you do is grab your phone. News, messages, social media. Your mind hasn't woken up yet, but it's already filled with other people's thoughts. The ancient Stoics started their day completely differently, with a morning ritual that set the tone for the entire day. They called it spiritual hygiene. Marcus Aurelius left us with invaluable advice. When you don't feel like getting up in the morning, remember, you were born for activity, not for idleness. But how can you turn this wisdom into daily practice? Meet Marina. She worked in a large company and constantly felt tired and exhausted. Everything changed when she introduced a simple morning ritual. First, after waking up, she lay for 2 minutes with her eyes closed, imagining the coming day. Second, write down 3 main tasks in a notebook. Third, do simple gymnastics for 10 minutes. Fourth, have breakfast in silence, without a phone or news. A month later, her colleagues began to ask her what her secret was. The answer was simple. She devoted the first hours of the day to herself, not the world. Stoic morning ritual. First, wake up without rushing, at least 15 minutes earlier than usual. Second, breathing exercise. For seconds, inhale, 4 hold, 4 exhale, repeat 5 times. Third, ask yourself, what depends on me today? Fourth, physical activity, at least stretching. Fifth, planning 2 to 3 main tasks, not a long list. In the evening, the Stoics practice another important ritual, reviewing the day. Seneca wrote, "When the lights are out and my wife is silent, I review my entire day, weigh my actions." Try it today. First, before going to bed, take a notebook. Second, answer 2 questions. Where was I the best version of myself today? Where could I have acted wiser? Third, don't judge yourself. Just watch how a scientist watches an experiment. A story of one of my friends. He kept such a diary for 3 months and discovered an amazing pattern. His most productive days always began with a morning ritual, and the most unsuccessful ones with checking email and social networks immediately after waking up. Epictetus said, "You are a slave to what is truly dear to you." Morning rituals are a way to remind yourself what's really important before the world imposes its priorities. Your task for tomorrow: try a Stoic morning ritual. It's not perfect, it's not long, just start. Even 5 minutes of silence before the day starts will change your state. And in the evening, write down your observations. What worked? What could be improved? Have you noticed how easily we turn into reactive creatures? Someone said something rude. We get angry. It started raining. We get upset. A colleague got a promotion. We envy. Our internal weather constantly depends on external circumstances, as if we are not the masters of our state, but puppets in the hands of chance. The Stoics called it voluntary slavery. Epictetus, who was born a slave but became free thanks to philosophy, said, "Only is free who has power over his own mind." Here are 2 scenarios. First, reactive mode. Traffic jam, irritation. Criticism from the boss, depression. Rain on the weekend, disappointment. Second, Stoic mode. Traffic jam, time for an audiobook. Criticism from the boss, useful feedback. Rain on the weekend, an opportunity to read at home. The difference is not in the circumstances, but in our interpretation. As Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are upset by something external, it is not the thing itself that hurts, but your assessment of it, and you have the power to change this assessment at any time." Practical exercise reassessment. When faced with an unpleasant situation, first, stop, take 3 deep breaths. Second, ask, how would a Stoic see the situation? Third, find at least one positive aspect. A true story. Anna was laid off. Her first reaction was panic. Then she applied the Stoic approach. This is a chance to change an unloved job, time to improve her skills, an opportunity to reconsider priorities. 6 months later, she found a job with better conditions and admitted, dismissal was the best gift. Seneca warned, we suffer more often in our imagination than in reality. Our minds tend to catastrophize. The practice of anticipation, Premeditatio Malorum, helps. Imagine the worst-case scenario. Understand that you can handle it. Now focus on preventing it. Today's task, pick one small annoyance, being late, bad weather, someone being rude. Practice a Stoic attitude. Write down how your state has changed. Remember, there's a gap between stimulus and reaction. That is where your freedom lies. Have you ever wondered why it is so difficult to maintain concentration? The answer is simple. We have forgotten how to wait. The modern world has accustomed us to instant results. Messages are delivered in seconds. Videos are downloaded instantly. Food arrives in 15 minutes. But true mastery and deep transformation require something completely different. The patience of a master who has honed his art for years. The Stoics called it love of fate, amor fati. Not just acceptance, but sincere gratitude for the process, for the very opportunity to grow. As Epictetus said, do not strive for events to happen the way you want. Desire that they happen exactly this way, and you will be happy. Here are 2 approaches to the goal. The approach of the majority, wanting a result right away, getting disappointed at the first difficulties, changing direction in the absence of rapid progress. As a result, a constant start from scratch. The Stoic approach, appreciating the process of improvement itself, seeing difficulties as a necessary part of the path, staying on course no matter what. As a result, true mastery. A true story. 2 friends started learning Japanese. The first one quit after a month. Too difficult. The second one set a rule. 3 hieroglyphs a day, no exceptions. After a year, he knew 1,000 hieroglyphs. After 3, he spoke fluently. His secret? He fell in love with the process of learning itself. Practical exercise, small steps. Exercise 1. Choose a goal that is important to you. Second, break it down into micro-actions, for example, not learn a language, but 5 new words a day. Third, focus on daily performance, not on the result. Fourth, keep a progress diary. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you can stop at any time, but do not stop. These words contain the whole essence of Stoic patience. Not heroic leaps, but calm, constant movement forward. Your task for the week. 1. Choose one long-term goal. 2. Determine the minimum daily action. 3. Do it without fail. 4. Mark on the calendar every evening. 5. At the end of the week, evaluate what has changed in your attitude to the process. Remember, an oak tree grows from a small acorn, but it takes time. Your growth is not a sprint, but a marathon, where the most important thing is not the speed, but the direction. You wake up with a clear plan for the day, but by evening you realize that you've done everything except the most important thing. Sound familiar? The Stoics called this phenomenon the tyranny of the urgent, when small but loud tasks crowd out important but quiet ones. How can you regain control over your time and attention? Seneca warned, what part of your life have you really lived, minus the time stolen by others? Modern research shows that the average person spends 3 hours and 15 minutes a day on aimless scrolling. That's 49 full days a year. Here are 2 types of productivity. The first type is reactive. Reply to messages immediately. Grasp the loudest tasks. Constantly switch. Feel tired without results. The second type is Stoic. Define 3 main tasks for the day. Allocate sacred hours for deep work. Say no to everything secondary. End the day with a sense of accomplishment. Practical exercise triad. Ask yourself every morning. First, What will bring me closer to the main goal? Second, what can only I do? Third, what will be important in a year? A true story. Entrepreneur Dimitri set a rule. The first 3 hours of the working day are only for strategic tasks. Phone in flight mode. Mail closed. In a month, his business grew by 30%, although he worked fewer hours. Epictetus taught, if you want perfection, give up many things today. This is not about sacrifice. This is about a conscious choice. Every yes to something important is an automatic no to 1,000 little things. Your task for tomorrow. First, in the evening, select 3 main tasks. Second, in the morning, do them before everything else. Third, record how much time has been freed up. Fourth, evaluate how much calmer has your mind become. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. Do less, but do what is necessary. The rest is just vanity. Your strength is not in the number of things you do, but in the quality of the moments you live. Have you noticed how often we become hostages to our own expectations? When I buy an apartment, then I'll start living well. When I lose weight, I'll start dating. When I get rich, I'll be happy. The Stoics call this the illusion of arrival, a dangerous belief that the present will begin somewhere out there in the future. Epictetus said, do not demand that everything happen as you want, but wish that everything happen as it happens, and you will be happy. These words contain the key to true freedom. Not happiness somewhere later, but deep satisfaction here and now. Let's consider 2 approaches to life. The usual approach. Wait for ideal conditions. Put life off for later. Ignore the present. As a result, years of waiting for happiness. The Stoic approach. Live life to the fullest today. See perfection in imperfection. Find joy in the process. As a result, a rich, meaningful life. Practical exercise moment. First, stop right now. Second, ask yourself, what is good about this moment? Third, find 3 specific things: breathing, silence, the opportunity to read. Fourth, give thanks for them. A true story. Elena was waiting for the renovation to be finished so she could start living. One day she realized the absurdity of this wait and began to find small joys every day. A cup of coffee on the balcony, an evening walk, a conversation with a friend. The renovation was finished, but the habit of enjoying the present remained. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, don't live as if you had 1,000 years to live. This is not a call to irresponsibility, but a reminder to value the present moment. Your task for today. First, choose 3 ordinary tasks: eating, commuting to work, taking an evening shower. Second, do them mindfully, fully present. Third, notice the details that usually escape you. Fourth, in the evening, write down, what new have you discovered? Remember, life is not a preparation for life. As Seneca said, while we postpone life, it passes. Your happiness is not in future achievements, but in your ability to see the miracle in the ordinary right now. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, when I finish this task, then I will rest? We are used to perceiving rest as a reward for work, as something that must be earned. The Stoics saw a profound misconception in this. Rest is not the opposite of work, but its necessary part, like breathing. Inhaling and exhaling are equally important. Marcus Aurelius wrote, a man gets tired not for what he does, but from how he treats it. Modern science confirms, our brain is not designed for constant concentration. It works in cycles, 90 minutes of activity, then 20 minutes of rest. Ignoring this natural rhythm, we destroy our own productivity. There are 2 modes of work. Burnout mode, work until exhaustion. Guilt for rest, gradual decrease in efficiency. As a result, fatigue and disappointment. Stoic rhythm, conscious periods of concentration. Regular breaks without guilt. Respect for your biological clock. As a result, sustainable productivity. Practical exercise, sacred rest. First, set a timer for 90 minutes of work. Second, when the signal sounds, a mandatory 20-minute break. Third, during rest, switch completely. Walk, meditate, just watch the clouds. Fourth, no half measures, either work or rest. A true story. Programmer Artem complained of constant fatigue. When he began practicing Stoic rhythms, he discovered something amazing. In 6 hours of conscious work, he began to manage more than before in 10 hours of exhausting labor. And most importantly, he saved energy for his family and hobbies. Epictetus taught, do not demand the impossible from yourself, but do the possible constantly. This is a wise attitude to your resources. Not heroic dashes followed by exhaustion, but smooth, steady movement. Your task for tomorrow. First, divide the day into cycles, work-rest. Second, during work, complete concentration. Third, during rest, complete relaxation. Fourth, in the evening, compare how has your productivity and well-being changed. Remember Seneca's words. It is better to do less, but better. Your power is not in the number of hours spent, but in the quality of the moments you live. True productivity is born at the intersection of work and rest. As day follows night in a natural, wise rhythm, have you noticed how often we become slaves to our own habits? The morning begins with an automatic check of social networks. The day passes in endless switching between tasks. The evening ends with mindless scrolling. The Stoics call this unconscious living, when we act on autopilot, without even noticing how the days, months, years pass. Epictetus warned, first tell yourself who you want to be, and then do what you must. These words are the key to liberation from automatisms. Mindfulness begins with a simple question. Why am I doing this now? Here are 2 types of days. Most people's days. Woke up, immediately on the phone. Works, constantly distracted. Eats, watches a video. Goes to bed, thinking about tomorrow's problems. A Stoic's day. Woke up, a minute of silence. Works, fully present in the task. Eats, enjoys the taste. In the evening, summing up without fuss. A practical exercise stop moment. Set 3 to 5 random alarms during the day. When the signal sounds, stop. Ask, what am I thinking about now? What am I doing now? Does this bring me closer to my goals? Make a conscious choice to continue or change the activity. A true story. Marina noticed that 10 to 15 times a day she automatically picked up her phone. She started putting it in another room. A week later, she discovered there was time for reading, quality communication with her children, and she finally started keeping a diary. A small thing, but it is from such small things that life is made up. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, don't live as if you had 1,000 years left to live. This is not a call to rush, but advice to appreciate every moment. When we realize the finiteness of time, we naturally begin to cut off everything unnecessary. Your task for today. Choose one automatic habit. For example, checking email. Each time before the action, a pause of 3 seconds. Ask, is this really necessary now? Write down in the evening how many times you manage to intercept the automatism. Remember, between the stimulus and the reaction, there's a tiny gap. This is where your freedom is. As Seneca said, life is long if you know how to use it. It is not the number of days in life that is important, but the amount of life in your days. You'll come a long way, from realizing how easily we lose ourselves in the chaos of everyday life to understanding how the Stoics maintained inner freedom even in the most difficult circumstances. But now the main question arises, how to make these principles a part of your life. Stoic philosophy is not just a set of smart quotes. It is a practice that needs to be sharpened like a sword. Not a theory, but a daily training of the mind. And here lies an important paradox. The simpler the principle, the more difficult it is to apply. The last lesson, how to live, not just know. Seneca wrote, it is not enough to just read. You need to digest what you read. First, start small. Don't try to change everything at once. Choose one practice. Morning, 5 minutes of silence. Evening analysis of the day. Stop moments for mindfulness. Do this every day, even if it seems like there is no time. Second, remember, you are already ready. You don't have to succeed first to live a Stoic life. The journey itself is a victory. Third, Don't seek perfection, seek progress. Epictetus said, if you do even a little better today than you did yesterday, that's a victory. Fourth, go back to basics. When the world seems too complicated, ask yourself 3 questions. What do I control right now? How can I make the most of it? What can I learn from today's experience? A final story. A friend of mine, let's call him Alex, waited for years for the perfect moment to start his own business. When I save up enough money, when I learn marketing, when the crisis ends, he once read in Marcus Aurelius, a man who waits for the right conditions will never start. Do what you have where you are. A week later, Alex launched a small project, without a perfect website, without an advertising budget, without guarantees of success. Today, his company is thriving, but most importantly, he realized that the real victory was not in the result, but in finally stopping waiting and starting to act. Your final task. Choose one practice from this audiobook that resonates with you the most. Apply it today without delay. Repeat for 21 days. Because as the Stoic said, wisdom is not knowledge, but habit. Remember, you already carry everything you need within you. All that remains is to awaken it.